Hey friends, thank you so much for tuning in and joining us for the first ever Forsyth County Virtual Young Life Club. Who would have ever thought that we were going to say that? But we are so glad to have you. If we haven't met, I want to introduce myself. My name's Clay. I lead at Reagan High School. And so if you're at Reagan and we haven't met, reach out to me, say what's up. I'd love to be friends with you. And if you don't go to Reagan, hey, we can still be friends too. It'll be awesome. But to start out the night, I would love to share just a little bit about myself. So this past weekend, I got to go home and spend some time in Asheville with my parents. And I asked them, hey, what are some of the things that I was into growing up? And they laughed, and we all kind of laughed together because we've made a joke out of it that I just don't remember anything from my childhood. I don't know what happened, if aliens like scrubbed my brain clean of something, who knows, but I really don't remember it. And so they share just a few things with me, a few phases that I went through as a child. And the first one was the G.I. Joe phase. If you don't know what a G.I. Joe is, it's just a little action figure that was military related. They made tons of them. They made the vehicles. They were awesome. And so I really took on the persona of being an actual G.I. Joe. And so I would go in my backyard, I'd put the camo on head to toe, I'd put mud all over my face and just pretend that I was crawling through the backyard, peeking out at the neighbors, pretending that I was actually on a mission, as crazy as it sounds. But I loved G.I. Joes. I loved everything about it. And the next phase that I went through was the cowboy phase. That's right, the cowboy phase. And so I didn't grow up around cowboys, if you're curious. I lived in the middle of Asheville, North Carolina, so there aren't cowboys there. But I loved everything that cowboys were about. The lassoing, the cowboy hat, I mean, come on. Like, I would want a cowboy hat back to this day. Maybe I should bring that back for myself. And so it even got to the point where every night when my dad tucked me into bed, he would tell me, Cowboy Clay will ride again tomorrow, which now feels so embarrassing to say out loud. But luckily, we're all friends here, and we can keep that secret. But it was funny, and I loved that he thought that I was a cowboy, or at least he pretended to think that I was. And then my favorite of all of the stories is one time I was in daycare, and my parents came to pick me up. And so when my mom came, she's looking around the room, and she's looking to pick me up. And she tells the lady at the front desk, hey, we're here to pick up our son, Clay. And the lady kind of looks confused, looks down at her list, is like, I'm really sorry, but we don't have a Clay in this class. And my mom's super confused. She's like, literally look right there. Like, there's a kid with red hair. There's no denying that it's Clay. And the lady just turns bright red. And she's like, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I realize what's going on. Clay has been telling everyone in class that he is Anakin Skywalker. If that name means nothing to you, it's all right. I'll fill you in. That is one of the main characters from Star Wars back in the day. And so I pretended and even kind of thought maybe a little bit deep down inside that I was a Jedi. And so I guess I was going into daycare with my lightsaber ready to fight all the evil in the world. But I love each one of those stories because, one, they're all just funny personas that I had growing up. But the bigger reason behind that is that if you think of each one of those characters, they are a character or a person that you can really put your safety in. Just think about it. Cowboys riding into town to save the day. Jedi coming to save the entire galaxy. The military fighting for their country to save them. Like, that is a narrative that all of us can hold on to. And when I was a kid, that is what I put all of my safety and security in. And I share that with you because there's another story I want to share with you tonight. It's about this guy named Bartimaeus, and he actually put all of his safety and security in an item as well, but then found out that that wasn't exactly what he was looking for. And so I'd love to share with you that story. I'm going to be reading in the Bible in Mark 10, starting in verse 46. If you have a Bible, Feel free to open it up and join along. If you don't, that's all right. I will read through it and explain it to you. So here it is. Then they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, were leaving the city, a blind man, Bartimaeus, was sitting by the roadside begging. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet. But he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." So this is a story that we've probably all seen in real life. If you've driven around Winston-Salem or any big city, matter of fact, you've probably come up to someone on the side of the road asking for money or panhandling. They might have been spraying down your windshield, wiping it. They might have had a cardboard box cut out. But it was someone that was standing on the side of the road asking for money that needed provided for. And so Bartimaeus was this back in the day. That he was kind of known as this guy that just waited on the outskirts of town, waiting for people to come by and just ask them for money. And so you can clearly see that a lot of people are aggravated by the fact that he's even calling out to Jesus. And so Jesus says, "Stop and call him." So they called the blind man. "Cheer up, on your feet, he's calling you." Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. Which, y'all, back in this day, everyone kind of wore a cloak. And so this is kind of a blanket, but kind of similar to what they had. And this cloak was something that was very valuable. If you were just a common person back in the day, you probably only had enough money to afford just one of these. And so it was something that was a prized possession. For Bartimaeus to be a beggar on the side of the road, it was probably everything that he had. This is probably what he used, not just to wear as a piece of clothing, but he would probably lay it on the ground and sleep on it at night. He probably used this to put out on the street to ask for money and collect change for people passing by. And see, he was a blind man, and so that was all that he had. Without this cloak and without people just giving him money as he set it down, he truly had nothing. All of his security, everything that he needed to be provided for him came through this cloak. And so it's a big deal that when Jesus calls out to him, that he takes this cloak off and he goes running to Jesus. He's saying that the thing that I've put all of my security in isn't what I need anymore, that I know that I need Jesus more than I need this cloak. And so let's see what comes next. And so it says, "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked. And the blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." "Go," said Jesus, "your faith has healed you." And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus. And this is kind of a weird question by Jesus if you think about it. He says, "What do you want me to do for you?" It was pretty clear that Bartimaeus was blind. And if you've been around Young Life this year, you know that we talk about this guy named Jesus, who is fully God and fully man, that he has the power to heal people of different injuries, including blindness. And so when he asked Bartimaeus, "What do you want me to do for you?" it's pretty clear. He's like, "Hey, yo, Jesus, I want to see." He says, "Rabbi, I want to see," which just means teacher. And Jesus responds to him and says, "Go," said Jesus, "your faith has healed you." And just like that, immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus down the road. He didn't turn back to look for his cloak to bring it with him. He didn't worry about addressing the people that were rebuking him earlier. All he knew was that his safety and his security was in Jesus and that he wanted to follow him. And I think that each one of us can relate to this story, that we all have that thing that is our security in life. It may not be a cloak like Bartimaeus, but I bet that each one of us have something. It might look like academics for you, that if you get an A in that class or you get in that college that you've been dreaming of your entire life, that will provide everything that you need. Or maybe it's athletics. If you have a good season, if you practice hard enough, maybe you'll get that scholarship. Maybe you'll be able to provide through having a pro career or at very least a scholarship into college. Or maybe it's a relationship. If I have the right girlfriend or the right boyfriend, that's going to be enough for me. But we see here that each one of those things falls short, that everything that we put our hope in isn't going to provide the way that Jesus does. And so I want to challenge you tonight as you are sitting either in a watch party or at your house. I challenge you to ask yourself the question that Jesus asked Bartimaeus. What do you want for me to do? Where do you need Jesus to show up in your life? Where have you been putting your faith in things that aren't him? And I want to challenge you, reach out to a leader. If you're next to them, pull them aside after this. If not, send them a text or call them. What do you need Jesus to do in your life? Where can he show up and be that security that you have been desperately wishing for? So friends, I want to thank you for tuning in, that you would take some time out of your night to be with us. This was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week at the Young Life Hub. Thanks.